Well, hello there, everyone. It's like right here. It's like talking about right here. It's the recycle bin explained coloring activity right here. As you see right here, as you have right here, it's like a say a bin right here. It's like a known for like what you call it's like for recycling it is, and you have right here is that I went ahead and colored in right here is a recycle bin, and you got right here is the arrows right here that will be pointing like what says for you say for for the recycle symbol it is. But most of this, of course, occurs like with most of our what you call like our PC, PCs. I'm sure it applies for like what you call like for a Macintosh computer, and of course with other electronic devices it is. But basically about recycle bins it is, and knowing about that, if most of us are familiar with like maybe how to put something in the recycle bin, but then of course the question is like a matter of fact about that if you still need it be saved on file it is, and there may be some people that may think about that you have a file on your computer that is saved, or it could be like what you call like a Kindle, or it could be a iPhone 5 or iPhone 4 or something like that. You say with 3G network it is, but knowing about with the way that the recycle bin works, a lot of times it would usually a lot of times if you were to get on your computer it is, and let's just say that recycle bin icon would show up like on your desktop it is. It's like the desktop icon it is, if it's like what you call for a desktop, or if it's for a laptop, or anything like any other type of other devices it is. And usually a lot of times if you to right click, a lot of times if most of us use our use our right hand, of course, just to work the mouse controls it is. If you were to right click, you say on the mouse it is, and it would take you to other menu settings a lot of times. Take you other menu settings, and then from there it would ask you on one of them, if I can remember right, was like what you calls like a priorities. I think priorities or something like that. That ask you for file information, pulls up information about the file information, and then of course rename. There was another one I can remember seeing a lot of times when right click for rename, but a lot of times if you were to click on a file on your computer that you would get those menu options it is. If you were to click on a file such as related to like maybe a project or something like that was saved on a file was, if you were doing anything maybe like on Paint Networks. But the whole part about this is explained is talking about for the reason though, it's like that if you if for for the reason of if you were to begin on your computer and it was saying that your hard drive is getting full of space, that your that a lot of times it's the hard drive, like my camcorder and of course with my camera it is, of knowing about with the hard drive getting full, a lot of times it would usually tell you that you're there would be like a line bar like this that would show about how much memory capacity it is, if it's like what you call like for 1 terabyte of memory, and it'll just say that if you're using about 400 gigabytes of that memory. Anybody can maybe think about if it's all a measure of math it is, if it's all the measure of math, if you were to calculate that, one file uses, I would say, at least 1.430 amount of for only about maybe 2 seconds, 2 seconds, about you'd be surprised about how much memory a camera would use if you would only record maybe 2 seconds of video recording. And what did anybody probably think about, do you even have time to say hello whenever you like go hello, I don't know why I say goodbye, but I say hello. But other than that, like talking about, like we say, like in hello, say hello, say loa, say lalaka, or they say something like that, like talking about that. Yeah, if you were to do any type of video clip, and I'm sure anybody can maybe think about with with like the memory card formats, it is a lot of times if you're using the memory cards that uses a the HD, especially the HD. I'm sure anybody here knows what I'm talking about, like what you call for HD. For HD files it is, which if you are using a memory card or any type of recording device that uses HD files, a lot of times it's more likely going to use up more memory. It is, but anyway, that anything that on your computer that uses up memory, it is, and a lot of us will probably think about that. The feeling about whenever you clean out the files on your computer, it is. A lot of times it feels like maybe you've lost something. It's like if you're talking about, it could be related to a school project or maybe an assignment or something like that. And with anybody, we'll probably think about that any files that you have remaining on your computer, if it's using a certain amount of memory, it is on your hard drive. And with anybody, probably think about anything that they may be using for class, it is, such as what you call maybe external hard drive, where they keep a lot of their school files and it's like assignments on hand. It is, if it's saved on an e-reader, it's like if you say maybe the D the D drive, anything like that, if it's gonna be like what you call is like for my, if you were to title it, it's like my dot school papers, school papers, school papers. Go ahead and put an E right there. School papers, and say maybe dash 2, and then maybe go ahead and maybe put the the year on there, as in for 114, and then if you want to maybe put like a question mark right there, and then kind of like a URL link. Anybody will probably think about if you were to save a file using that, like for school papers, it is. And a lot of times, some people may think about that if they were to have something, a file saved on multiple drivers, it is, if it's like what you call like the F drive. A lot of times, the F drive or maybe the C drive. The C drive a lot of times is usually built into your computer. It is, which on my computer that I have, like the C drive, and then I think the E drive also, C, and then of course the F drive, and the drives like that. And knowing about, like with my pictures though, if it's my pictures or if it's my documents, my pictures, my documents, or if it's documents, that a lot of times that you're going to have these situations to where that you are going to have a lot of pictures. Say pictures, viruses too. We could download maybe a file, a virus on there, and like what you call like for the security settings, it could be other like a PDF file. Anybody maybe think about maybe a PDF file. Others, like I can maybe think of a lots. I could probably tell anybody here. I can maybe think of dozens. I can maybe make a list here of anything I can think about. Talk about anything that maybe I can maybe get rid of on my computer, put into recycle bin. If it's photos, or if it's anything related to any paints, anything that I did on paints, that a lot of times, or music. If I were to what you call like maybe if I were to have anything saved like on music, the music file or anything like that. But we're talking about stuff that more likely that you don't need anymore, or when you think there will be a right or wrong time, of course, to get rid of it. And anybody who maybe think about that is talking for cleanup. This kind of reminds me of back in the school days. It's like at the end of the school year, it's talking about the day a lot of times the teachers would help you clean up. For after school was over with, that a lot of times with cleanup, it is. It's like, I guess they, anybody, maybe you look at it, it's like what you call it, maybe spring cleaning or something like that. But knowing about that, with the recycle bin here, that we're like, well, with the recycle bin, that knowing about, anybody maybe think about, hey, that I want to double check for sure. I want to make sure that before I put it in the recycle bin, if I still need it, and then maybe if I want to keep it, maybe for my records it is. And with anybody that with anybody will probably say about that that usually with most PCs that they would automatically create a backup file. It is if whatever file that was saved on the file, and let's just say that and then of course you will be able to look that up on you'll restore the file. If you want to go ahead and click restore to restore the file, it is if it was sent to the recycle bin by mistake, it is. And or if you decide that no, you don't want to delete it, and there are some things, of course, I keep thinking about that put them in the recycle bin, and anybody will probably think about, you're not going to see them again. They can't be recovered, and a lot of times kind of get mad about that. But on the other hand, and there may be a few ways, of course, you can check it out on your computer, or if it's like any other type of electronic device, Toshiba or any type of device like that. That more likely that if it was sent to the recycle bin by mistake or by accident, whichever it is, that a way to recover it. But then, of course, with most of the time, like on the recycle bin, if you have at least, I guess it goes by saying that if you have, close to about maybe 100, 100.15 or so gigabytes of space, of memory, that of course that you don't need. Of course, it could be like what files that temporary files, any files that were created on your computer that more likely that you don't that aren't being used, that aren't necessary, whichever it is. Anybody may be thinking about that, like with the files, I'm talking about like the electronic files. Back in the old days, that something like this was like, talk about with paper right here, the files more likely is really what you had, but like electronic files, it is, if you were to create a file, it is, anybody can probably think about that, it's, if I can't touch it with my own fingertips, it's not called a file, it's called what you call like the thingy-jingery, you say, that you see on the the thing icon that you see on the screen. Is anybody would probably think about just a little thing, thing budging or anything like that, anything that you would see on the screen, that more likely that you would find on the screen that they say that more likely that it's like not necessary to keep saved on your computer. It is not necessary to keep saved on your PC. And I could probably tell anybody here that the times I've cleaned out files on my computer, of course, whenever I'm recording, sometimes a lot of times it says when the battery status goes low, or whenever it says whenever the memory is getting full. A lot of times, like, we could probably say we all been there, to where that we don't really take the time to pick out, choose for whichever files that you want to keep, and which ones that you want to go ahead and discard. It is. And knowing about, it's like talk about explain, it's talking about from the most important, I guess, from the most necessarily it is for most necessarily necessary files. It is, of course, to keep the needs. I guess it's like for the ones that more likely that you need the most, and more likely anybody would probably think about that, like with the recycle bin. It's like, that with the recycle bin, a lot of times that maybe that there may be some people that says, hey, that whenever the computer updates to a new program, it is, if there's like Windows update, it is a lot of times that they say that the recycle bin is there. Other than that, if they're not in the recycle bin file, it is a lot of times that you can find anything that could have been sent to the recycle bin by accident, or maybe if it was the fact about that after about maybe 30 days that it said that it was no longer necessary to keep that file, so it was sent to the recycle bin. And anybody who maybe think about with most of the time, like we say Apple products, or if it's Microsoft, whichever it is, that more likely that's like, hey, that are you sure you want to delete this file? It is a lot of times they would ask you, and like with emails, that they say that, hey, that if you're looking for a certain file and then find out it was sent to the recycle center, and anybody would probably think about that. It seems like it's always going to be like a chore. It's always going to be like a chore to, no matter if it's like what you call as a smartphone or a tablet, it seems like this is always going to be a chore, to where the fact about if it's not done right, then it's possible that you may lose some things. And I could probably tell anybody here that if there's a right or wrong way of how to do it, and between right and wrong. And I think the whole truth of the matter is that knowing about that, if you were to actually take the control to where if you were to actually move the mouse cursor to go ahead and take the extra time, half an hour to an hour, whichever it is, of knowing about, to actually control the mouse from clicking on going through the files, taking a few minutes of your time just to go through the files it is, and then to go ahead and you click whatever icon that you got to click on, just to go ahead and go through the files, and then for whichever ones that read to where that you think that need to be tossed or anything like that. I could probably say anybody here, but I think about it's like talk about like an icon right here. It's like if this icon of say of a star, it could have been something that you may be working on Microsoft Paint it is, and then anybody probably think about that any type of design or anything like that you could have been working on, maybe on Word or Excel file, Windows, Office program, that any type of letters that you may have wrote, that like if you may have created a shortcut somewhere, and knowing about you really want to, are you sure you want to send this file to the recycle bin, and or it will be deleted directly from the hard drive it is. And with anybody that they usually ask are you sure, and are you sure. And a lot of times though it's like no, like no, I don't want it. They say cancel. If you say, they give you options between a yes or no, or cancel. A lot of times they give you those options like that, and I don't know about that. That with me though, that I probably have altogether about a total of, I would say at least maybe 200 megabytes, 300 megabytes worth of video clips. Of course I've taken, of course pictures also, with pictures that I would probably say that could maybe be copied to a CD, and then or to a separate hard drive, if anybody else are familiar with like SkyDrive, it is with SkyDrive. But anyway, that if you were to actually be going through the files on your computer and then find out, you're trying to decide which ones you want to go ahead and send to the recycle bin it is, and knowing about it, and then they say that the recycle bin's only going to be able to hold so much too, because we're talking about a waste bin here that only holds so much. And now you're at that situation to where that now it's like it's saying that more likely though that you can maybe go to recycle center, just the recycle bin, to on your computer to be able to look up and try to restore those files that they were maybe sent to the recycle bin by mistake it is, or maybe if you sent them there and then all of a sudden for whichever reason that you were not supposed to throw it away, and then go to the recycle bin or search for file, and it would tell you if it was sent to the recycle bin. It's like a lot of times go to file search. A lot of times that's usually found on, like say, the parental control option. But other than that though, that like if there's the right way of knowing about for how to get rid of stuff a lot of times, and know about cleaning out your if after the school year about how to clean up something, if you recorded something on tape of how to clean up something, and anybody will probably think about that just like talking about just like cleaning the mirror, just like cleaning the mirror it is. It's like you spray the bottle of Windex on there, just spray the bottle of Windex on there, and then you'll be done. Not that easy, because on the other hand too, that knowing about with these files, apparently if they are related to school or maybe paying a bill, maybe your taxes, anybody would probably think about it. And I could be honest with anybody here that with a lot of the files I still have on my computer, of course, are related to my taxes. And with my taxes, I need those papers for next year's tax return, and And on the other hand too, that without those papers, and a lot of them are saved on electronically, and I have them saved on CD also, but there are some files that of course you do have to have kept around for at least maybe a year or two. But let's just say if the files are anything related to anything about maybe music files or any temporary files, anybody probably think about with temporary files, sometimes that uses up memory too, and then knowing about that, the right or wrong way of how to handle the job it is. But just knowing about, it's like for whatever files that you have something saved on, if it's related to school or if it's related to work or anything that's related to, like what you call maybe Facebook or whichever it is, YouTube, anything like that, of knowing about, for anything that's necessary it is, so far as cleanup it is, of knowing about, is taking the time, taking the time, and taking the time to look through the files, and just to pick out whichever ones that the files, and like, man, whenever I was going to school, I'll tell anybody here, whenever I was going to school, a lot of times it was just paper, a lot of folders, paper, whichever it is, pencils, that a lot of times it would just wind up going in the trash can eventually. But anyway, other than the grade reports, anybody probably think, what about the grade reports? Did they get tossed too? But anyway, anybody probably think about that this is something that more likely that only takes maybe a few minutes of your time, but on your hand too, that knowing about, the question is that, like, more likely it'll be done your way, it'll be done the way you like it, other than the fact about everything all just wiped out of the hard drive. And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, just wiped out of the hard drive, deleted, everything all deleted. And a lot of times that I could probably tell anybody here, I may have lost some things, but you say you talk about with delete. Anybody who maybe think about, you don't want to hear that word delete, but on the other hand too, that knowing about, they say click delete, and I could probably tell anybody here that I guess that don't mean necessarily that everything is gone. Everything is gone, that it can't be recovered. It cannot be recovered. But on the other hand, I could tell anybody here that if it seems like it's never really a never-ending job. It's like it's basically a job that more likely we just got to take time to do. And knowing about how the recycle bin works, that anybody may be thinking about with the recycle bin, that if there's a file that you need to have saved on your computer between a file and a file that you don't need at all, and with most PCs that they would say that if any of these files were related to an update, then more likely it would not go to the recycle bin, but any old files, that more likely they would go to the recycle bin or be deleted from the hard drive completely. And it's like talking about that any missing files or anything like that more likely, but with most computers nowadays, like if it's a Dell or if it's a Microconian or something, any other computer like that they would create a backup file. And with anybody would probably think about with a backup file, it is that with backup file, and this is another type of a priority, that backup files, that with backup files like the external hard drive, that they probably say that a lot of times that those files cannot be deleted. If it's saved on your computer, then let's just say if you're working on an online office program, that more likely there's memory you can buy on there, to be able to save any files that you want to have stored on there. If you're filing your taxes online, doing a schooling online, whichever it is. But basically talk about right here, it's like for the recycle bin explained, is talking about with me, it's like right here, is talk about if this was, say, me, it's like for me, for, for Maddie, it's like, Maddie Mick, so, for Maddie Mick 25 right here. Talking about right here is like talking about with Maddie Mick is like I talk about, it's like for the recycle bin explain coloring activity.